Hi everyone. All right, so this video is about creating clients, and really the foundation of creating clients. Um, this is the super high tech, high power, executive level, advanced system for creating clients. I promise it is. I wouldn't lie to you. Um, so many of you have seen this in one way or another, but it is really basic, and yet it's like a sun salutation, where it's like the most basic yoga move, but it's the foundation for everything. It's a never-ending evolving practice. It's the thing to return to. It's the thing that you can always get better at. It's the thing that creates. So the practice is connecting, inviting. Inviting's not special. I just forgot it when I made this, so I added it. Connecting, inviting, serving. So serving is conversations. So maybe one, maybe two, sometimes three. Sometimes a year later, you have another one. And then talking about working together, proposing. So this is just like foundational. By now you will have watched the intro video to tracking reports, but these are the things that most coaches who are getting going track. And not most, I'll say coaches that are learning how to create a practice through service and through relationships. It's the foundation. It is like the sun salutation. It's the foundation. It's that the backbone to every successful coaching practice that I know. This is what the coaches are doing when they're showing up to work every day, when they don't have a client. So when they don't have a client, like a paid client, this is what they're doing. They're working on this. It's something that was completely invisible to me until I started working with Michelle Bauman, and um, it's what I still do today. If I'm ever in a moment of like I need a client, or I want a client, or I want to fill a group, this is the practice. I've worked with a lot of coaches who really overcomplicate it and waste a lot of time. This is the thing that keeps you on track if you're willing to stay on track. So you know, if you're my client, you show up to a conversation with me and you say, I need a client. I want to fill a spot in my practice, or I want to fill a group. We return to this. So this video is about connecting. So connecting, it's the starting place. You cannot serve somebody, if you aren't connected in some way. There's this great piece of writing out there that is around building trust. And it's kind of impossible to help somebody if they don't trust you. If there's no relationship, if you're just, what that's like to receive unsolicited advice from someone you don't know. It feels super bad and slimy and weird. And why would you trust it, even if it's spot on? So this part of building a practice is critical. So connecting is, again, there's the today need, and then the 6 months from now, year from now kind of need, and ways of being in this process of connecting. So a lot of you know this if you've, I don't know, if you've heard me talk about this. For a long time, I've had this big whiteboard, and I had 3 columns. The first column was a list of people that I was curious about working with. It was like Sam Smith, the singer. I heard him talk about something once, and I was like, God, I just had this feeling like, it'd be so nice if he loved himself a bit more, or if he was more confident. So like Sam Smith is somebody that would go on that board. Or I hear my brother talking about his boss. I'm going to put his boss on that board. Um, anybody that I look around in my world and I'm curious about working with, or I'm curious if they have support, or I'm curious about what they're up to because I just like them and I like their vibe. I'm going to put that column. I want that column to basically stay full. It's totally fine if I just have one person because that's enough to take action with and move on. But that column is like when I show up at, let's say, noon on a Tuesday to work on my practice, I'm not showing up to work with a paid client. I'm showing up to work on my practice. I am going to look at that first and be like, who do I need to connect with? Who do I want to connect with? And that's the column that's like, that creates the momentum that leads to everything else. So connecting, and I mean, connecting is, there's like an art to it. There's not a formula. It's more like, who do you want to work with? Who would you love to work with? Who's on your mind? Put their names down. Have that column out always until this is second nature and you don't need to be reminded of who. So like, for example, I just did a series of webinars in the fall. I had, you know, I don't know, it was like 100 or so new people to me show up to those, and I couldn't put them all in there. So I put them in an email, in a document that I have on my computer now. That's like the roster for each one of those. Those are new people to me that I haven't worked with. I know that if I wanted to connect with somebody, I would reach out to one of them, and it might have been somebody that asked a question, and I might say to that person, let's just say I wanted to create a client. I would think, who's like on my mind? I don't have anybody on my mind. I'm gonna look at my list, be like, oh, that person. Or in my world, I might look at one of those roster lists and be like, that person asked a question. I wonder how they're doing. I might send an email that's like, hey, person, you were on my webinar a few months ago. You asked a question about this. I'm curious how it's going. I also might have more ideas for you. Do you want to set up a time to talk? That is a very effective and simple way of inviting somebody into a coaching session. So that's that my I just skipped to inviting. The first thing was the connecting was me putting together a webinar where I let people know about it, and I connected with people for the first time. So there, like I said, there's ways of connecting long term, like putting together anything that builds your community, something like that. And then there are layers of connecting where that invitation that I might send, that might just be to connect also. It might not be an invitation to be coached or for them to receive coaching. But with connecting, what's on my mind is how can I, first of all, I'm only connecting with people that I'm genuinely interested in connecting with. That's a good place to start. This is part of having a practice that I don't have any resistance to. I genuinely want to connect. So I'm not going to connect with somebody that I have a weird feeling with or I think I need to. It's just like genuine connection. I forgot what I was saying just a second ago. But I'm going to think about people that I want to have in my practice, in my world, and I'm going to find a way to connect with them that feels authentic, that feels good to me. So it might be me looking at my board and thinking, what is my relationship like? Yeah, this is what I was saying. It's like to be mindful. What's on my mind is how can I create warmer relationships with these people? I found my way back to my thought. Thank you for bearing with me. I'm not going to be editing videos, so. But how can I create warmer relationships where I become a trusted source of support, a trusted source of, transformation, of meaningful moments? How can I become that for more people? And it's a practice. Like I said, each one of these steps is a practice. You only need one person at a time to connect with. And you might set a goal around this that's like, I want to connect with one new person a week or 3 people. And it might be sending emails to old friends. You're like, you want to connect? You don't know where these conversations are going to go. The whole point is just to connect. It doesn't mean that you're going to try to get them as a client. You're just going to connect with anybody that comes into your mind. Michelle used to tell me, just wake up every morning and just ask, like, who can I serve? And do it. Don't say like, no, that person, really, no. Like, trust what comes forward and connect. If you have a full practice, or as many clients as you want, but you're going to want clients in 6 months or a year, or you might want to put together some groups or a podcast or this or that someday. One idea is to start doing more things where you're expanding your community. So it might be hosting some webinars, it might be giving some talks, it might be finding a way to connect with more people and bring people closer into your sphere. So that's kind of like the long game, is doing that kind of work. If you need a client though today, don't do that. Don't do that. I mean, you can do that, but just know it's not going to create a client this week. Unless you did a webinar tomorrow, which you can do. And you made an intention to connect with each person that showed up and had a conversation with them. And that is a wonderful way of building a practice too. I just had a conversation with Steve yesterday, and one thing that we talked about was I have a bunch of people that I would like to work with, but I don't have space for. And he was saying, well, you could start putting on some like complimentary webinars or even paid webinars or full days. But you will likely have more people wanting to work with you from doing that. I'm using that as an example, just in that it's kind of a tried and true way of creating clients. Is if you do show up in a webinar or something and you're helping people, typically people are going to want more in some way. The trick is to help people, like to truly to really help them, to deepen in your ability to really serve people. So when I'm thinking about connecting, I'm also thinking about wherever I am, dog park, grocery store, DMV, like having my head up, putting on that hat that's like, what if I am the angel that's sent to earth at this time to serve people? Is there somebody around me right now that might be looking for help? That, I mean, gosh, I've heard so many stories about people creating clients on airplanes and, me, dog park. If you're present and slow down, this really helped me slow down a lot, kind of wherever I'm at, and being mindful of the possibility of creating a client anywhere that I am. I did get to see Michelle really be a loving and supportive presence even while she was passing away. For those of you that don't know, she passed away in 2015. And I spent a lot of time with her in the hospital that year. And I watched her be really present and calm and loving with the nurses. I mean, with me even. I mean, she and I were friends, but I was really her client during that time. And even before I became her client, I was spending time with her in the hospital. And she kind of enrolled me while we were in the hospital, where she really connected with me. We had some great 2 a.m. morphine-induced conversations, and were really effective. But she was masterful at finding ways to serve people wherever she was. And that's the process of creating clients, is really serving people intentionally. And I think it is one of the best practices of personal growth and personal evolution, knowing that your personal concerns and challenges will possibly get handled while you're in a session while you're in a session serving somebody else. Having a service consciousness is so powerful and so meaningful and so helpful. my life has gotten exponentially better the more I coach. And I've definitely had the hardest time of my life in terms of the events since I started coaching. So that's interesting. But I know it's directly because I get myself off my mind and I get into that place of loving and compassion and caring and a higher level of consciousness. And when I return to my day, things look different. Things look lighter, look easier. So I'm going on and on a bit, but the connecting piece, so many coaches get hung up on it, and it just, keep it simple. Keep it simple. Keep it like, what's obvious. You know, Steve Chandler tells this story about Steve Hardison, his coach, saying, Steve, pull up your last 100 emails and let's read through each of them and see if it's somebody that you could serve in some way. And they didn't get through very many before they found somebody for Steve to go and connect with. So Steve said this to me once. He said, all the clients that you need are in your life right now. You know, they're available through the people in your life right now. And I've just rested on that. I've relied on that as comfort and clarity. And it's been so helpful. I had to stop thinking that my salvation as a coach lied beyond my current life experience. Like I used to say, I want to just connect with complete strangers because I wasn't comfortable letting people know around me that I was coaching. That's since fallen completely away. And I also don't go around spouting to everybody that I'm a coach, but I'm not embarrassed by it at all. I love this profession. I feel very proud to be a coach. But it's like you don't have to go far, and you also don't have to go public. You can be, and you can be very public. So using social media to connect is great. Anytime you post anything, if anybody comments on it, that's an opening to connect further if you use it for that. It's a great way of connecting deeper. I have a client who's masterful at using social media as a way of connecting, and that's all that she does is she posts something, she gets some engagement going with the people, she responds to everything, she treats it as a conversation, not a spouting monologue. It's a conversation. And anybody that, you know, and she'll prompt things, she'll put out questions that people answer, and then she'll private message people and be like, do you want to talk more about that? That's so cool, I love what you shared. She's seeking just to connect, and then sometimes she's seeking to directly serve. And that's where we'll go to next with the inviting. So, you know, there's a lot in what I just shared, but just to give you an overview, I would say if you're brand new, you don't have a practice at all, I would be seeking to connect with as many people as you can. I mean, I'm going to say like 3 to 5 a week would be incredible. And in the connection, I mean, that's where you can, you know, continue to move things forward. So and I think that's, I'll go into the next video with the inviting. All right, I'll see you over there.